We're preparing the live stream.
All right. Bill, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to start the webinar. Okay, I think we're ready.
All right. Welcome to the November 2022 meeting of the Clifton Town Council, being conducted electronically in accordance with our declaration as set forth on the agenda. We'll get right into the meeting, starting with the town clerk's report.
The draft minutes for the October meeting were circulated and I did not receive any requested revisions.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay. Anything else?
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Treasurer's report.
Hi, good evening, everybody. We had this one circled on the calendar, meeting on the 1st of November, but I wasn't able to get the reports together. That said, I won't steal any of the glory of how the haunted trail went, but from the financial point of view, is quite amazing. I can only imagine how many people came in. I will be working on the report during the meeting as well as circulating it tomorrow, but there's nothing too outstanding from my end. I do have some invoices here to get out, including the all traffic solutions and a few other emails to catch up on. I'm only got about 10, so no report from me today.
Okay, we'll move to citizens' remarks. You had two people who wanted to make remarks. I don't know if they're on yet. The first was Pat Swanson, who wanted to talk about the DMV pop-up at the Presbyterian Church.
Pat is an attendee. I'm going to promote them to a panelist.
Okay.
Pat, if you want to unmute and turn on your...
There we go. All right. Hello. Yes, I wanted to take a minute of the council's time to let you know what's happening at the Clifton Presbyterian Church. We had an opportunity this summer through Dan Helmer, our delegate at the House of Delegates in Richmond, to offer a pop-up DMV at the church. And we did that in July, and there were 60 people that made appointments and came, and they got real IDs and they got their license plates updated and all kinds of DMV kind of related paperwork. We repeated it because it was so well received by everyone, and had 69 people attend on Monday, the 24th of October. And it's encouraging for us to know that we're offering this little service to our community. And most of the people that came were thrilled that they could be so close to home and get some, what is usually not a fun task to go to the DMV and get this stuff done. But you do have to make an appointment, but they can do everything. They bring their printers, they print everything out, and seems to work really well. We plan to do it every couple months, and I just wanted to let you know that that was going on. And to also say that if there's anything along that vein that we can do to serve the community, we're happy to offer our facilities and our parking to get things like that done.
That's
So,
awesome.
let us know.
Pat, how do you publicize that?
Well, they gave us a choice. They said we could publicize it through the church and make the appointments. We opted to decline that. We didn't want to be in the business of being the DMV. So it is posted on the DMV website, and people just make appointments through the DMV. I think we could probably, since it's gone so well, I think we could probably do a little more in-house publicity. We could have CPA or you all or somebody.
Yeah, I'd certainly like it if the folks in Clifton were informed about it, so that they could go on the DMV, even if the registration is on the DMV website. If we knew about it and we knew what the dates were, I think you'd get twice as many people.
Yeah,
Easily,
I think
yeah.
it's great. And you know, what I love about it is the DMV people are actually sitting there smiling. When was the last time you went to the DMV and saw somebody smile? They're happy as can be. So it's a win-win. So We don't have the date set. Our little in-house rule is that we don't want to have an event like that at the church when the preschool is in session. So we deliberately choose days that the kids aren't there. Just, we don't have the security to be able to keep the building secure with something like that going on. So, so that's our only thing. We just need to find another date in a couple of months that the DMV is available and that it's not a preschool day. But we're happy to host it and would be glad to let you all know.
Yeah.
Do you send out information to the community through the council? Okay,
Yes, we do
All right.
on lots of different events. Example is the Clifton Lions Club did a
Yeah.
DEA drug take back, and we heavily publicized that through all of our channels. And we do the same with this. If you can let us know about it, then we'll use our channels to let the community know about it
okay,
as well.
excellent. Sounds good.
Great.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
you.
that. All right, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks,
Right.
Pat.
All right, bye. Have a nice evening.
I happen to make use of that myself because I needed a real ID for some reason, whatever.
You needed that to get on the plane, I think.
Yeah,
In-
actually,
In May.
Yeah,
in May, it turns out, because
Okay.
that's what I was worried about, because I have to fly a couple places and I didn't have the real ID, blah, blah, blah. I was just panic. And we're gonna have to go to the DMV, and Phyllis went to the DMV site to make an appointment. And there was this thing at Clifton Presbyterian, which we were like, is that for real? And we went down and there it was, and it was great. And I agree, it'd be good if more people knew about it. And what was funny was they had the little plexiglass window thingy up, for COVID or whatever. And you'd sit in a chair and they'd tell you to go to the next window. And you're like, what are you talking about? And they kept, move back to your window, move to the window. And I couldn't figure out what they're talking about, these windows. And then I realized they're DMV people. And everything for them is all about the windows. When you go there, window D4.
Window number T14.
Yeah, they're all about the windows. And you had to go to this window, the next window. They had the little picture, got a picture for the license and all that kind of stuff. It was actually really serendipitous and very helpful. So good thing.
if I may, it raises a question that probably the town should look at. I don't know whether you had any trouble proving where you live, because mail comes to a post office box for most of us as opposed to an address. And for some of us, like Ford Lane here, that address does not exist in the post office red book. So as far as a lot of people are concerned, there is no such thing as Ford Lane.
Oh,
And
wow.
that creates all sorts of trouble in terms of not being able to, I say, well, I've been living here for 42 years, so I know that it's here. But you have to have an address that they can register.
Yeah.
So I've looked at what of our materials that we get would qualify for what you just did, which the real ID thing. And it's not that easy.
They took utility bills.
Yeah, but that goes to the post office.
Really?
But your service address should be on the utility bill.
The service address is, but according to the DMV, and I don't want to make too much of this, and I don't want to take the time. According to the DMV, it has to be the address that it's mailed to that would establish the location.
Your legal presence.
I don't want to make a big deal of
yeah.
this. I'm just saying that the town might want to look and talk to the post office about getting the people who live in this town, their addresses registered by the post office as existing addresses.
And they won't deliver mail to your home?
No.
They won't. Huh. Okay. Well, maybe the town should take over Ford Lane or something.
I'd be happy if you did that. Could you take care of the snow also?
Yes, I know there's a long history.
There is.
The other
Well,
option
just to
you
let-
have,
Just to let you know, even though it's not that well publicized, every time they've had it, it's been completely full. So all slots are always taken.
You mean the DMV thing?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but I won't have to go again. So, as I was, we had 60, then 69. So presumably that'll start to whittle it down if they have it.
Yeah.
Periodically. Okay, very good. The next citizen remarks, Chuck Rusnick wanted to speak about the Art Guild.
Amanda and I are trying to help him get a link to join. He can't find his link.
Okay, so when he does, then we'll do that, or do you
Yes,
want to
that's
do
a
it?
good idea.
Okay, because that's also later in the agenda, so we can pick it up there too. Moving to committees, the planning commission had no meeting. The zoning administrator has no report. The ARB had no meeting.
Wow.
So that takes us to, I'm going to skip streetscape and come right back to it and move to the Clifton Haunted Trail report on the 2022 Haunted Trail. And what I'm looking for here is just for those who didn't attend, an overview of what happened. Did the event occur? Did it seem well received, successful? I'm not talking about financials.
Yeah.
It's about that. So I don't know, Amanda or Daryl, if you want to say something about the event.
Yeah, I want to say I'm incredibly proud of the work that Amanda did, stepping in and saving this event for the community. And that's no overstatement to say that. She did heroes work just pulling this all together and handling the jobs of many people to make this happen. So kudos to her. Thank you so much for stepping in and saying that you were willing to take it on, and then following through. And it was from every person I spoke with working the trail said they had a great time. Everybody loved it. Everybody seemed to really enjoy themselves, both the volunteers and the attendees. That's all. I heard nothing but good reviews from everyone. So thank you.
I agree. And one of the things I'll note is it was decided to have online tickets with the idea, and we talked about this before, of this was restarting the trail, going back to the roots, trying to make it simpler. And so online tickets were, there was a cap on the number. It wasn't a low cap. I think it was 1,650 tickets or something, but they were all sold out.
Yep.
So we weren't sure how the event was going to be received, and there was massive support. I think another 600 tickets were sold on site because there are always people who come who'd like to attend the event. So
Yeah.
from what I saw, it was very well received.
Yeah, we had a good number of sponsors for the event as well. That's always a big, an important factor, and a lot of new volunteers, new folks participating in building, sets and scenes and stuff. And so I think we have a good opportunity to get some more folks involved in, building it year over year, as we had before. So
Amanda, do you want to?
The total count was what? 1,200? 2,200?
Amanda?
We had 2,145 tickets sold.
Great.
Probably not all of them showed up. I'm just going to give you a few stats just because I know I've gotten a lot of questions from people over the last couple of days. People do want to hear the numbers, so to speak. Like I said, 2,100 tickets sold. We had probably 150 to 200 volunteers. As Daryl said, many of whom were brand new, either just moved here during COVID, never had been to the Haunted Trail before, didn't know what it was. A lot of people met their neighbors and got to work with them for the first time since they moved to our community. We had 12 sponsors, many who had never sponsored the event before. That was great. We had to work hard to decrease the numbers. If we didn't work at it, I think we could have had 5,000 people show up. So it was not it was not an accident that we had a smaller number of people. That's based on the feedback that we received from our previous event chairs, from the experienced volunteers, and just wanting to be respectful of the residents in town. So actually the 2,100 number was right near our target. So that was one of our main goals, reduce the size of the event. And that actually yielded an unexpected bonus. We had a smaller impact on our environment. I was just telling Bill the other day that when I got there the morning after for cleanup, there was a whole lot of people down there looking very bewildered because there was no trash to pick up. And the size of the dumpster that we had rented was less than half the size, and it was less than half full. So that's a really great thing to do. One of the things that is just amazing to me are the sheer number of residents who donated or loaned the use of their property for our volunteers, for their own safety, just to park near the trail, to reduce their exposure to vehicular traffic as they're making their way to the trail. And we gave our land lenders T-shirts in appreciation, but you really can't put a value on the safety that they provided to our volunteers. I will say that our gross revenue, which we haven't finished tallying everything, but so far the tally is that we grossed $49,000. We have tallied most of the expenses, and I can say with certainty that we did not net less than $35,000. Just to give you some perspective, in 2019, the last year that the event was held, the net revenue was $39,000. So we're actually quite close to 2019, which is considered a banner year.
Yeah.
If you've been down to the trailhead since the event, you may have noticed some very deep ruts in the entrance. The Fairfax County is going to be coming down there to put some gravel down to fix that. That was caused by their pump and haul trucks. They would have put it down today, except for the rain the previous night. So once that dries out a little bit, they're going to put some gravel down. That was their suggestion as a way to improve the gravel approach upon which their trucks turn around.
So are their trucks going around the gate? Is that what's causing the ruts? Now that
no, they're
Back
they're
up.
turning around in a slightly different spot
than they used to. Okay.
It's not necessarily objectionable. It's just that the ground is not prepared to hold
support
that
the
kind of
weight.
weight.
Yeah.
I'm curious about something. We had folks parking up here, and the cars were still there at midnight. When did people break up? I was impressed as hell. I mean, there were some very nice people. We parked them over at the Babers, and the Babers weren't there, and I was watching this whole thing, taking care of it.
That was me. I was parked there.
Oh, you were there too?
I tried to be the last person to leave, but I just couldn't outlast some of the folks.
I was just amazed. I kept watching to see when those cars were going to leave, and some of them just didn't seem to ever leave.
That's one of the I think one of the great things about this event is seeing everybody enjoy themselves afterward at the barn after they've worked their guts out for weeks and spent 2 long days with setup and then running the trail, and then just getting to really enjoy time with their neighbors and their community and cut loose. And it's seeing them around the fire pit and stuff. It's rewarding and it's unique. It's not something that, you know, you get in just any old neighborhood. So I think mission accomplished on all fronts.
And we had focused on community building
Mm-hmm.
by bringing this event back, and it was a tremendous success in terms of that, as Steve and Daryl were just talking about, that all those people came out to the after party and were, you know, really enjoying themselves in a respectable way, enjoying being with each other and feeling bonded to the town and the community, which is, you know, one of our major goals.
Yep.
In doing the event. So it was great.
Every single person that volunteered was absolutely critical to the success of our event. But there's just one person that I have to really name individually, and that's Chuck. I don't know many people who would be so generous and such a good sport. I had to ask him if he would let us put not just a dumpster, but also porta potties on his property. And not only did he say yes to that, he gave up his entire driveway for people to park. It was absolutely instrumental to us being able to hold the event.
Thanks, Chuck. I
Yeah.
hope he's in here. Did we get Chuck back yet? Did he make
Yeah,
it in?
he's here.
There he is. All right.
Chuck is up here, yeah. So I can promote him to panelist whenever you guys are ready to address that topic.
We'll do it right after this. So anything else on the haunted trail? Which really, I mean, it's amazing that it came off. It's a very important event. You think about the two marquee events for the town, biggest events. We have many things going on throughout the year, but Clifton Day and the haunted trail, both of which are in October.
Mm-hmm.
And we have many other, we have the 4th of July and the holiday tree lighting, all these other things, but these are really big branding, community building events. And if anything, the haunted trail is an even greater community building event because of the number of volunteers working in close proximity creatively to actually produce an event like that. So
Yeah.
very good. Any other thoughts, comments before we move along? Okay. All right. Let's go back to citizens' remarks with Chuck speaking about the Art Guild.
Chuck has been promoted to panelist.
Okay.
Chuck, do you have video?
He just muted himself.
Okay, and Chuck, you can unmute yourself.
Nope.
It's in the bottom right of your screen, Chuck. If you put your pointer down there, it will appear.
The bottom left of my
Bottom
screen.
left.
Bottom left. What did I say?
Right.
It's the other right.
The other right.
You're gonna have him leave the
Okay.
meeting.
There we go.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Things in the image are reversed.
There he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you. And thank you, Amanda, for that shout out. It was a pleasure working with you. Absolutely. The only thing I wanted to talk about was our part of the holiday tree lighting homes tour festival, which will be a art guild arts and crafts show at the town hall. And it'll be from 2 to 7 p.m. along with the homes tour time. So far, I've got a half a dozen artists and crafts set up to attend. And I got a bunch of promises. The promises don't materialize until they pay the registration fee. And the registration fee is only $25, and any of the artists they will not have to pay any kind of commissions to the Art Guild, which is a godsend to artists.
Yeah,
So
sure.
$25 gets them in the door, and then they actually end up paying for the cookies or whatever we have. We will have refreshments. And then the other part of that day that I'm involved in is the Primitive Baptist Church. We're going to open it along with the homes tour. Hopefully the homes tour is going to come off the ground. And I'm in the process of trying to find a musical group between Donna and myself, we're trying to find a musical group that will perform there. Hopefully gospel, holiday, and maybe even a cappella. A cappella works better because then we don't have to mess with sound and music and all this kind of stuff. So we're working that issue. I hope it comes off. Donna had some reservations about whether she was going to have all the houses that she contemplated. So we're going down that road anyway. And if it is on, the Primitive Baptist Church will be open, and hopefully we'll get music with it. Does anybody have any questions about how we're going about this? Or I'm working with Dara, I think her name is Dara, on how to present the Primitive Baptist Church and the Art Guild in the brochure. And she's been a joy to work with, as well as Amanda. You got a great team here, Bill.
Chuck, is there
Thank
a cutoff date when we know whether it's actually going to happen or not?
For the homes tour?
Yeah.
Don't know that part. That's I think Dara is the chair of that group.
And I'm happy to give an update. Dara had asked me to relay some information and have a discussion on it. So once we get to that point.
Okay. All right. Well, we're looking forward to the arts and crafts show.
Chuck, can I ask a question about advertising?
About what?
How are you promoting the event?
What we do to promote the event is, of course, a lot of social media. We have a website ourselves, but we've got Facebook page. We use MailChimp to send out to our mailing lists, which includes town people. You will see in all of your email boxes something from the Art Guild of Clifton that will tell you all about the event. Right now, the only mail that's going out is to artists. And let's see, what else do we do? We got signs to put on the street, lawn signs for directions. I've got a banner to put up on the corner of Clifton and Braddock that talks about the Art Guild on that day. It's a banner that goes on the ground. It's not flying in the air or anything like that. And I'll take any suggestion whatsoever for promotion of the Art Guild event, and also the rest of the events that day.
Presumably, are you talking with Juan and Renee at the Wine Attic? I know they've
Yes.
got a pretty active email list as well, so
Yes.
hopefully they'll be able to help get the word out.
Yes,
Just the
he's
local
on
businesses.
I've spoken to him personally, and he's also on our mailing list.
That's great.
And he's having a art show of sorts the same day.
Great.
Yeah, in that space down on the ground floor that he's rented out. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but he does whole wine tastings in there, and he's also going to have a number of artists exhibit at the same time.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great tie-in.
Yep.
Should definitely be working together to help get the word out.
And if any of you have any suggestions, I'd be more than happy to implement them for sure.
Great.
That sounds like a wonderful event.
All we got to do is have an audience. The artists are ready to go. Just need the audience.
All right. Well, usually the tree lighting and the home store usually do well in terms of bringing a crowd. So.
And I've included all those events on our flyer for that day.
Yeah.
Including the horse parade, and hopefully that'll come around also.
Yeah. Does Cloverleaf usually put that together? Or I guess NVTRP, it's now Cloverleaf.
I'm not
That's the
sure who
Horse
it is.
Society.
Oh,
The Horse
okay,
Society.
Clifton
Doesn't-
Horse Society. Okay.
And I think that winds up what we have to submit for that day, December
right.
the 3rd. And if any of you are interested, the following, on December the 4th, we're going to have a dedication of a bell in Helen's name at not primitive, at the St. John's Episcopal Church. And some of you went to her service there, and it'll be in the same place. We'll have a service and then have a dedication outside where the bell will be housed on a stand. And it'll have a little plaque in Helen's name. And then that afternoon, early evening, we're going to do a sing-along at my house. So anybody is invited to come, and you don't have to sing. It isn't required. You can just come.
And what day is that, Chuck?
It's on Sunday the 4th, which is the day after the
Okay,
orchard.
all right. Thank you.
Yep.
Sunday, December 4th?
Yes, exactly.
You don't have to sing. Will there be drinking?
On December the 4th,
Yeah.
I think so, unless the laws of Clifton don't allow it or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that might even help with the singing too. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that update. Looking forward to the event. As we get these things going again and look to the future for a set group of holiday events that we can tie in together. This is looking like it's shaping up very well for this year and as we look to future years. So thanks, Chuck, for pulling that together.
Very welcome.
All right. Moving
All right.
along.
I'm going to move Chuck back to attendee. Bye, Chuck.
Okay. And on committee reports, the last committee report we have is the Streetscape Committee. Susan and Jerry wanted to provide an update on that.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great. Just give you an update here. And we are going to have an ask here as well. But so we've been working with the utilities to get their design and then ultimately their requirements for easements as we move the utilities to underground. Happy to say that we have reached that point and we have from each of the utilities their requested easements. And we had a meeting today with VDOT and just talking next steps and so forth. What we need to do is we have an approved site plan. That site plan was approved prior to our initiating the whole relocation of the utilities. So our approved site plan does not reflect the what would be the new location of the utility. So what we need to do is re-engage J2 engineers so they can make the appropriate revisions, additions required by VDOT so that then we can get that submitted to VDOT to get their approvals. All this kind of has to do with you know, the easements, the right of way, all that stuff, so that that starts to become the documents that we utilize as we approach the property owners to obtain the easements. Obviously, whether that is you know, they donate that or not. I think many of the property owners will hopefully do that, including the town. Such a good chunk of it is part of Air Square. So that's where we're headed. We also, just from the big picture standpoint, we're going to be having a meeting here with Novak as soon as we can get it, with Jim Chesley, by our side so that we can kind of finalize their commitment to absorb the costs for the Novec utility relocation. We've had that verbally a couple of times. There's been some chatter in our back and forth over the last couple of months that, oh no, it's not, going to be paid by Novec, blah blah blah. But it's problem is it's different people saying that, not the people who we initially engaged with. So so the bottom line, we just got to get those people in the room again and get that commitment. And I feel confident that will happen, but we just need to make it happen so we know 100% that that's the case, because we need that to move forward to have discussions with Verizon, to get them to do the same thing, and obviously use the leverage of not having a franchise agreement, since it's expired with them. So they need that, so we can use that to our advantage. And then once we have that, then Cox will fall in line, the same. So that's going to be in the works here in the next, hopefully the next week or so, we'll get that meeting. So in the meantime, our goal here is really to get this wrapped up and in a position where utilities can start construction prior to the spring. In a perfect world, it's done before spring happens. So from a business standpoint, we minimize that impact. The good news, I think much of the work will not be a huge disturbance to Main Street or to the businesses. A lot of it will be underground. I think I mentioned before the existing conduits under the road, from kind of right there near Peterson's Ice Cream that crosses over to Air Square and then back across up to a pole next to Chapel and Main Street is going to be utilized by Verizon. So some of their work there is already done. So anyway, but we got to get all that figured out, and obviously we want to minimize the impact to traffic, business, everything. So that's kind of where we're at in a nutshell. If you have to answer any questions, the ask is we need J2 engineers to do additional work, which was not part of their original scope. We've reached out today, haven't made contact with J2, but given our meeting today with VDOT, that's something we got to get going, and we want to get going quickly. So we need to get a proposal from them to provide the council. But what I hate to do is, lose 30 days. Obviously, the funding will cover whatever. This will be part of the funding. Obviously, the town still is required to be paying 20% of that, which up to this point has been our time. But anyway, so that's going to need to happen so we can get them working as quickly as possible. So the key is getting it submitted to VDOT, because they're going to be probably 60 days minimum to do their reviews and so forth before we get a new approved site plan, so we can move forward with the discussions to property owners and so forth. So that's where we're at.
Is there a dollar amount attached to your ask, Jerry?
I do not know. That's the problem. So it's I don't. We didn't get a chance to go back and look at their original. Amanda, I don't know if you would have that at your fingertips, but what J2's original fees were,
I do, but it's very long and difficult to parse, so it's not something that I could look through quickly.
Yeah. So I don't know what we could do there. Maybe nothing, but anyway, it's unfortunately the timing stinks. We didn't have any time to even try to get any kind of estimate or anything. We just could not get a hold of J2 today for whatever reason. So just to even have some sort of estimate. I just don't recall what the original fees were. It's been a while. So we can at least give a gauge based on that, but
This would, Jerry, this would just be a modification of the existing, right? It would just
that's
add whatever it is for the undergrounding and so on.
that's correct. I mean, it should be, obviously a fraction of what their original fees were. That's kind of what I was trying to get that, so I can say, okay, worst case 20% or 15%, or that way we have some idea. But yeah, it's they're just revising. They have to. So in our, I don't know if everybody understands kind of what poles are being pulled down, but in our, obviously it's the one in front of Bellagio, the one at the corner of Chapel and Main Street, those are the Novak poles, the Verizon poles that are in front of Peterson's Ice Cream and in front of the Clifton Cafe there. And then there's a couple of drop poles that's near the pub, and a couple others. Another pole that was added by VDOT suggestion, which was kind of odd, but as we stood out there, they wanted to keep going up Main Street, and we said no, we're outside our scope. But at least the one they talked about was in front of the church there at the corner of Chapel Street and Main Street. Which is not, it's in bad shape anyway. It's leaning pretty hard. So because of that, we got to go up Chapel Street up to the park. So that chunk of road was not part of our original scope. So they got to add that kind of piece into the site plan so that it's covered. But so I don't know what exactly that means, but it's there's no streetscape work, but it's the utility component that'll be there, that they got to have to underground to get to the pole that's really the one that's at the back side of the church and to the one that's beyond. And I think they may be adding a pole to the left of the entrance to the park.
Jerry, another question. We ran into an interesting situation today, speaking of VDOT and easements. The people are starting to park right up against the fence from the pub. The net result is what used to be a walkway, or what used to be a sidewalk, is now not usable. Lucia was down there today, and she can only use a walker. She couldn't get anywhere because there were people parked right up against it. She talked to Sean and was saying, well, can we put a line to show where the walking area is versus where the parking area is, on the street? And Sean said, yeah, I'd love to, but we don't have that easement. That is owned by VDOT. That is controlled by VDOT. So it would seem to me, within the context of the streetscape, somehow we have to get VDOT easement provisions on that part of the street. I don't know whether you folks were aware of that.
Yeah, I think the property, what he's saying is it's in the right of way versus it's the property of the pub. And that area will change. That is part of the streetscape. That area changes. So there will be a sidewalk. Now, obviously, given what currently exists, people park on sidewalks all the time, which is a little unfortunate. Even the ones that are there and obvious, which is why part of the streetscape plan will hopefully help that, because there will be a kind of a curb-like situation that demarks between sidewalk and parking. But it's also, people tend to, they can easily not park that close to that fence. There's plenty of room on that road, but people tend to park further and further away from the center of the street, and it's just human nature, I guess. But that's kind of the whole point to all of this, is there's so much room on the actual road than it's needed for 2 lanes. So we're trying to absorb some of that, so there's clear parking demarcation as well as a good sidewalk on both sides of the road, so we don't have that problem in the future. So
Jerry, we have not used the entire amount of the contract with J2, the funding for it. I'm looking at one of the more recent invoices, and the total amount of the contract is for, it looks like about $232,000, and they have been paid $175,000 of that so far. And I don't know if any of these, it's very itemized, but like, it looks like we've got some room here. For example, I don't know if this could go under plat development preliminary. We've got about $7,000 left there. Utility field inspection, we've got $6,000 left there. And this is all funding that's already been approved by the council. Utility field inspection, I just said that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
100% design, we've still got 2,500 left. Final plat development, almost $4,000. So I don't know if,
So what that, some of that is that's on the construction end. So like the utility inspection. Interesting
Okay.
that's in there, because that was part of our discussion with VDOT today,
Mhm.
was making sure that we did have utility inspection included, or make sure we have that once the work gets started, to be sure that the utilities are doing their job correctly. Evidently they had experienced something in another jurisdiction where some of the electrical wasn't quite done properly, I guess, for some of the lights on the street, and they were actually having problems with the lights going on because there was a bad connection or something. So anyway, so I think a lot of that's probably still left, that like 50,000 or whatever that would be, is probably more on the construction side. Now, part of that plat information, I don't know if that's post everything, that's probably has something to do with our easements, because we currently, without utilities, we have some easements we need. I think most of them are temporary. There is, I believe, an easement, a permanent easement we'll have in front of Bellagio, because as you guys probably know, if you looked at the plat for Air Square, the property line is in the road for Air Square. So thus that entire sidewalk is on Air Square property. Thus, same with the Bellagio for that building. All of that is going to be on their property. So we'll need a permanent easement for that. So we have easements already, prior to the utilities. So that's probably what some of that plat time is going to be for. So anyway, I have no idea. I mean, certainly it should be, I would think, less than 50,000, but I'm just guessing. Until we get in front of him and have us, have him give us a proposal. But and the point here is, in a big picture, we've got the funding for this. It's just, it's obviously it will be, the town will have to upfront the money until we can get it submitted to VDOT to get reimbursed through the funding process. So
Hey, Jerry, is there a plan for all these new easements from the utility companies?
yes.
Can you share that? Not tonight, but can you send that around? I really think we got to look at the total amount of easements we're asking other property owners to commit to before we pay an engineering firm to draw them up. I mean, have we had any discussions with anybody on taking their properties?
Yeah, I mean, they've been very preliminary, but I don't know where you're going with that. That'd be a question. Where are you going with that?
What if Bellagio says no?
They won't say no.
How do you know that?
Well, it's not Bellagio, but
yeah, it's Sheldon.
Yeah, but we've had discussions. He's been very supportive of the whole project from day one. I mean, worst case, obviously what we want is for them to donate it. Worst case, obviously they would be compensated for it. So, but obviously he was one that we contacted very early in the process and understands that, we need that easement. But he's also getting a pole removed in front of a building that he leases, which is a hazard. So, these are all good things for everybody, but
What's driving, oh, sorry, go ahead, Bill.
I was just gonna ask, who are the easements to? Are they easements to the town? Are they easements to Novak, easements to VDOT?
so there will be easements to the utility companies for anything dealing with utilities. Okay, so anything that has to do with the utility, they will need, for the most part. So like right now, there's really no recorded easements that anybody can tell us they can find. Obviously, there are utility poles on people's properties currently. So there's an easement there. So for example, on the corner of Main Street and Chapel there, I'm blanking on who lives there. I'm blanking. Anyway.
Talking about
Harrington?
Yeah, Harrington. So there's a pole that's up Chapel on the right side there, and that's on their property. And so effectively the easement we're going to be requesting for them is for that area where that pole is. So it's already there. It's being utilized. They need that. So in effect, it's we're not asking for anything more from them, but there's no formal easement recorded because
and one of the things I'm asking, and I'll tell you why I'm asking, is I just did an easement with Novak. And it was similar to what you said. There was a pole there. So there was an easement, but they didn't have any record of it. So they're going back and they're putting easements in place where these things are.
Right.
Whenever you do something new. And the easement, it's 2 pages long. And it's a form easement. Like there's nothing to negotiate. They won't negotiate with you. And it says what you would think, that they're going to put this there. And when they need to fix it, they'll fix it. If they damage your stuff, they'll fix your stuff. And if they need to cut bushes down that are getting into the power lines, they will do so. And that's it. So it's not like there's some negotiation involved. They just go, here's your easement. And the only part that really required negotiation was where is the easement. But as far as the terms and conditions of the easement, it was just kind of what it is. And the point of that was when we say we're getting an easement, in that case, it was Novak was getting an easement. It's for the benefit of the community, benefit of the property owner, so on and so forth. But it's Novak getting an easement. So we would be facilitating Novak getting an easement so Novak can do what it plans to do with its poles. It's a Novak easement.
That's right. And anything to do with the utilities, it's going to be for Verizon, for Cox, for Novak. And then there's a couple of temporary construction easements, just because to do work up against the property line, you got to be on the property. So there's a couple of cases like that, which is, I believe, probably the pub and the cafe. And then I think maybe the only permanent easement is probably going to be Air Square and Bellagio. So now that would be, I guess that would be VDOT. That would be an easement to go to VDOT, which may be a little bit different, Bill, in terms of that. And there is a process for that that you have to go through, and that may be what's a little bit different than the utility ones. Because I actually have, for like Novak, they've actually sent me their little, probably what's exactly what you're saying, their little legal, pages for the various easements they need. So it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I wonder with VDOT if they have a form of easement. I can't imagine they don't.
Yeah, they do. And like I said, there's a whole process that you have to go through. But you know, the key is like right now, I don't want to go talk to the property owners, you know, with a half-baked you know, solution. And that, you know, I just want to make sure we have everything in front of us so that number one, they can just sign off on the document that says, yes, we're donating it, or they can give it some thought or whatever the case is. But the point is, I want to make sure we can give them all the information so they understand everything of what's going to happen. But again, like I said, I don't, probably the biggest question, which is just a utility easement, would be the church. But that's utility easement, so that's really more you know, a matter of fact than anything. We're actually trying to avoid that if we can, but it's still not 100% resolved with utilities. Because there's just very little space over there, and that's the biggest thing, is just very little space anywhere. But the some initial designs was basically chopping up Harrington's property, and I said that's not happening. You know, there's just no room in there. So we were able to avoid that and kind of move things over to Air Square and so forth, which is obviously easier to manage.
And my recollection on the terminology was they talked about granting an easement. I don't remember any discussion of donation.
Yeah.
And in the easement itself, it says you're granting this easement. You want to. Because presumably you think this is beneficial. Like if you're Sheldon and Bellagio and you're getting this giant pole removed, you want this to happen. So you're granting the easement because it's in your interest. And there's a provision in there that says if you don't, they can go through this big long process, blah, 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 which is more there just to notify you. But the typical process is you grant the easement because you want to do so. As opposed to some terminology of donation or anything like that. I did not recall that. It's more just granting an easement.
Just reading Novak's document here, and it basically comes right off the bat. It says for the sum of $1, knowledge under grants unto cooperative, it's blah blah blah.
Right.
You know, an easement. So exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, and that, like I say, the idea is you want this to happen, even though you're giving them something, and you could go through this big process. You want this to happen, so you sign the 2-page form that has some plats attached to it, and you know, away you go.
Right.
Patrick, did you have any further questions, thoughts along the lines you started to discuss?
Yeah, I'd still like to see what these easements are.
I can pull them up right now if you'd like to see them.
Well, if you have a document, just send it around.
Well, I prefer not to do that, because I mean, I guess it's up to you. I just don't want it getting out until we, you know, it's like, okay, it's out there. Hey, did you know you're going to get this? Blah blah blah. I just want to make sure we got to make sure we treat the property owners in the right way and provide the right information. And so, I mean, for example, somehow some word got to, you know, the Petersons that construction was imminent in the middle of summer, and you know, their business is going to be chopped up for 3 months. And you know, it's like, okay, who'd you hear that from? I have no idea, but you know, so we had to sit down with them and put them at ease that wasn't the case. And you know, so it's just you know, I don't, you know, I rather, we can take a look at it right now if you like. I just don't want it to get out there in the public view until it's you know, till it's the right time.
It would certainly be out in the public view if you did it right now. So
Well, that too. So yeah.
Might I suggest that you
If
discuss
anybody
this
wants
with
to have a
Patrick?
meeting, you know, be
Well,
glad to sit down.
I don't know how we make decisions without knowing the information. I mean, I don't know where this is going.
Well, I think one of the things to put those two thoughts together is that there's going to be work by J2 engineers to change the existing plan to reflect these easements and where this new work is. So presumably the two are hand in glove as to whatever it is J2 is doing is driven by whatever this is. So there must be a connection there at
Well,
some point.
the town owns Air Square. We don't even know what the easement ask is for Air Square yet.
So Patrick, you don't want to approve any easement on Air Square?
Without even seeing it, no, of course not.
Well, it's not going to happen until you see it as you know, in terms of the town owning the property, but I mean, this all needs to happen to continue the process down the road, so it's going to happen.
Maybe I'm missing it. What would you like for us to approve, Jerry?
Well, like I said, what we need to do is be able to approve to be able to expend the funds for J2's proposal. I just don't know what that is yet. And that's the unfortunate part. Obviously, if we gotta wait 30 days to give that to you, then we gotta wait 30 days. We just, you know, unfortunately waste a bunch of time, but.
I don't know how we approve something without knowing what it's going to, we can't approve a blank check, right?
I'm just telling you what we got, and
Yep.
if there's a way around it, great. If not, then that's what it is, and we'll just lose the 30 days. I you know, fully understand. I'm just telling you the facts.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing missing it somewhere, you know?
Yeah, no.
I've certainly seen the council approve things like putting lights on the tree for the Christmas tree lighting up to X dollars, but we know it's approximately X dollars and we tack a couple more. In this case, it sounds like we don't really know. And I think it'd be hard to say we approve up to $100,000 to be spent as seen fit by the committee without knowing what the scope is. I just think that might be difficult to do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, well, we know where we're headed. We know what the plan is. Jerry, I think you've sensed that there are people who would like to have a somewhat better sense on some of the specifics. I don't gather that means they want to know, you know, where the dotted line is on the grass, but rather, you know, which properties generally, what are we talking about here? There are certainly ways to, well, I think part of it though is some of it's probably pretty obvious, right? We talked about Air Square and Bellagio, but there are others that are not as clear. It sounds like we've got Chapel Street and the church. There are certainly other ways to engage in discussions with people between meetings as well, to just pick up the phone and talk to people and say, hey, you know, let me tell you, it's this, and this, and it's 5 feet here and 4 feet there. I got any questions about that? You know, so that you could easily convey the information to people that are particularly interested in that. I think there's probably a way to do that.
Yeah, if anybody'd like to take a look at that, I'd be glad to do it.
Okay.
But just as a
All
joke,
right.
anything from the tracks to Chapel Road, Chapel Street, and Chapel Street from Main Street to the park, that kind of tells you where we're at.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what's a mystery to people, but you're hearing about it today, and I know some of it because we did the survey on Air Square, is where the property lines are,
right,
and where the VDOT is, and it's absolutely not what you would think. As you know, when we did Air Square goes well out into the street, is the property we bought. So we bought some asphalt as part of it, I guess.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I found when we were doing the access to the 8-acre park is Chapel Street, originally called Hare Street. It's 30 feet wide.
Yep.
It's owned by VDOT. It's 30 feet wide. The asphalt itself is 15 feet or less wide. That means there's another 15 feet that looks like grass or somebody's yard or something. It's actually the road. And you wouldn't know that unless you actually saw, where the plats came out, which is done by looking at the property records. So,
and not to interrupt, Bill, but I am, but and that's exactly the point on the area in front of the church is
yes,
basically from the edge of the planter is kind of where their property is, but there's a chunk from that to the actual pavement of the road. Obviously, there's more asphalt when you get to their parking. So a lot of their parking is in the right of way.
Right.
So what we've been begging Novak for is to let's stay there, but Novak doesn't like to be in right of ways. They want to be on properties. And then, so we're trying to convince them to do that. And then VDOT says that's okay, but then they say, well, maybe it's not okay. So anyway, so we're back and forth on that. And that's the one little area that I'd love to just stay in that area that's in no man's land and be off of their property. And then we don't have to talk to them at all. And that may be through the use of a duck bank, and that may mean, certain dollars for that. But again, if that, is an advantage for the town, then that's, what we prefer to do. So anyway, we're still kind of working through some of those details, but you're exactly
Okay.
right. That's a real obvious issue right there.
All right. Well, in Pat's particular case, Patrick, you know where to find Patrick. Patrick knows where to find you.
Yep.
And same for other council members who have more detailed questions. And, we can't spend 4 hours going through everything tonight, but it's there. And Jerry and Susan are fully versed in it and have been on the ground. So we've got that wealth of knowledge, and you're readily available for those who want to know more of the details.
Is, well, I'm just trying to think of another way to work around it, but I mean, is there any aversion to engaging J2 engineers? I mean, is the council going to deny any funding? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I'll tell you what my take is to start the bidding. My macro view, I'll just throw this out there, is without doing the utility undergrounding, I don't really see the point in doing the streetscape with all those poles still there. That just sounds foolish to me. So either we have the utility undergrounding or we don't do it. Therefore, having a plan that has the utility undergrounding sounds like what we should have. And J2 did it before, so J2 should do it again. You want the same people who already are up to speed on it. So yes and yes on both of those. Now, for J2 to take existing work that's been done and update it, $50,000 sounds like a lot to me. I'm no expert on drawings, but wow. I know inflation's high. So I think if there was a smaller number, I'd be like, right on. But with 50 grand, I'd be like, whoa, someone explain to me why it costs that much. And there could be a good explanation. I don't know. That was my take from this, and why I'd like to see a proposal from J2 who goes, I understand exactly what you want. We'll create the plan that you need, and the cost is this, and here's some gloss as to why the cost is this. And then we'll look at it. Other council members, do you have any just gut reactions on this?
Well, if you remember, Bill, last time we talked, if we had to pay for the undergrounding, we were going to do the undergrounding.
Correct.
So that's not been resolved yet.
It's on the way. So here's what I'm hearing. It's on the way to being resolved. There's a path to resolution, but it is not inked yet. There aren't, and even if all these people said verbally, yeah, woo, it's great, I love it, until they actually send us something in writing, it's not actually done. So there's a path to get there. Part of the path to getting there is knowing exactly what it is there is. And that plan to get the there is this revised plan that shows these easements and where these poles are disappearing from and going to. So that all fits in with the ask. And there's a little bit of chicken and egg that we would have to create the plan we actually want to be able to get the utilities to say, yes, I'm on board with that, because they know exactly what that is. So we have to front a little bit to get there. That was my take.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Bill. I mean,
Let me propose this. If I was able to get in writing between now and the next town council meeting that Novak will in writing pay for their undergrounding, which is obviously the vast majority of the undergrounding costs. I don't know, it still doesn't work. You still want a number.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that is correct.
Anyway,
yeah,
I was trying to figure out a path through all that obviously there's money being saved, but anyhow, it's.
And if we said, you know what, spend up to $5,000, go ahead, you'd be like, how's this helpful to me? So, and spin the big wheel and see where it goes. So I think we just need a little more information on that.
Yeah.
I think the Novak part, by the way, Novak's part of the overall picture, but it's the critical part.
yeah,
They're the big poles. They're the heavy lift here. And if Novak has something committing to their part, that's going to create tremendous comfort on behalf of the council members saying, yeah, right on, let's commit that money to get this done. But I think you're still going to need a number. I think.
Well,
yeah.
and also understand, this is not a $0 or $750,000. There's not two choices here. It's not zero. They, by their franchise agreement, they have to relocate their utilities to avoid the conflict of the construction of our streetscape. So
yeah, I understand.
So
I understand.
if they do that, whatever that cost would be, let's say they fight us and, we can't convince them to pay for this because they have to go underground because there's really no other place to put it. That's the basic facts of it. But let's just say for a minute that they won't approve that. They have to at least pay for the moving of the poles. And so there would be a delta there. So again, it's not going to be the full amount, but anyway, we're just parsing dollars here, but anyway, it's just to everybody understand the big picture. But
any thoughts from other council members on this at this time?
I just wanted to check in on the timeline to be able to get the quote from the engineering company.
Hopefully in a week or less.
In a week. Okay, and that's the missing piece is having the quote. And
yeah, it's just unfortunate because we had our meeting today with BDOT, so to understand the path forward, they provided that today for us, and also because we just recently got the last easements from Cox, so it's just unfortunately put us in a bad timing situation. So it maxed out the whole timeline for us and getting this approval. So it is what it is.
Okay, well, I sensed a very, very important movement here, movement forward and crystallization of exactly what we're planning on doing here. So I think that's really good progress. Okay, and look, the other thing is everybody's primed and knows exactly what the next action items are as well. Perhaps looking for some more information on the details of what that is, but not what that is and not where we are. So Jerry, Susan, I think that was incredibly helpful.
I guess one last item that I was nudged to suggest is I would suggest that council for the future town council meetings, hold them in person. I think it's a disadvantage for the people in the town of Clifton to not be able to have an in-person town and council meeting. There's certainly a lot of advantages to that. And by declaration of our president of the United States, COVID is over. certainly understand people's individual needs and concerns. But anyway, just a thought.
Jerry, I was thinking about this exact same question earlier today. And let me ask this. One of the things about this Zoom format is anybody can participate from anywhere. And we've actually had pretty good participation, but it's not in person. So what do you see as the advantages? You know, people in town saying they're disadvantaged because it's not in person. What would the advantages be for them? What are we missing out on by not doing the in-person meetings? Just so I can get it down on the list.
Purely my experience with going through this the last couple of years. I hold a lot of meetings, and a meeting in person and a meeting on Zoom are two different worlds.
Okay.
I can't see Patrick Pine. I can't, it's just, people be able to just show up at the last minute and raise their hand and speak. This is a formal process. I know during COVID, when there were quite a few issues, it was very limiting for anybody just to pop in and raise their hand. And it's why the town of Clifton is the only jurisdiction in this area. We certainly, at the very least, should be following Fairfax County. And everything they're doing is in person. So just my suggestion. It's just, I think, the right thing to do for the town. And maybe you start to figure out a way to do it in reverse order. If there's somebody who is out of town or whatever the situation is, maybe they can somehow, figure out a way for them to attend virtually. And kind of deal with the exception versus the majority.
I think that we could, with a minimal investment, relatively small investment, we could probably set the town hall up with equipment to enable Zoom meetings, so that folks could attend remotely if they're not able to attend in person, but the meetings could be hosted at the town hall. You need a small projector. We already have a screen, some microphones. Be relatively inexpensive probably to get that stood up. So if the council supports it, I can, get some cost estimates on something like that.
Yeah,
I think we need more of a discussion on it. I mean, I know Jerry has had this position for a long time and has articulated it more than once. And I don't know that this is the time to discuss this, but I totally disagree with it. I've been in town council meetings for 40 years. And there are very, very few people who have attended town council meetings over 40 years, including streetscape people who haven't shown up at town council meetings, Zoom meetings. So from my perspective, and I have other reasons that you all know about, or some of you know about, to be able to have meetings where people actually show up and actually talk, and you can actually see them when they talk, has been very, very helpful. I think we've had more participation at these Zoom meetings than I've seen at town council meetings for many, many years. And the notion, except when there's a big issue. When there's a big issue, all of a sudden, everybody shows up for one meeting and then you never see them again. And that they could do on Zoom as well. We had that happen when we had the sign, the Black Lives Matter sign. So I have an entirely different experience, Jerry, than you do of what happens at town council meetings and how often people in town actually show up at town council meetings. And it's a 40-year experience. And it just is the opposite of what you're suggesting. So I think we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really wanted to suss out from Jerry, what the thinking was for the comment that he made and why, so we can begin to gather up the various viewpoints on this. We're certainly not making any decisions on this right now, but as a group, we said, hey, there may be a time and we'll continue to talk about it. And, if we had some groundswell of the residents coming forward and saying, we demand to be in the Wayne Nickham Town Hall or something, it could be. That's the kind of input that we're looking for. as we make these sorts of decisions, because at the end of the day, this is intended to be a forum that people can watch and participate in, that it's transparent. That's what we want as a governmental body. So right now we're doing this, but it doesn't mean we'll always do this, and we're looking for input on it with some reasoning behind why. Okay, well, thanks for that additional input. Anything else at this time? And Amanda, if you can put Jerry and Susan on, well, we always have them on, but put them on in particular the next agenda on this particular thing with J2 engineers and the proposal. Okay.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Wait a
Thank
minute,
you.
wait. One
Oh.
suggestion, if you're getting some sort of estimate within a week, if it can be sent to Amanda so that at least the town council knows what it is before the next town council meeting, then we're not going to be surprised by it at the next town council meeting.
Yeah, we'll get it to you before the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of time.
send it out in advance. And as I said, look, anyone who has questions for Jerry, I know he's looking for your call anytime to ask about specifics and get down in the weeds on any of it. The information is there. Me included. I talked to Jerry about this as well. So anyone who has any questions, Jerry and Susan are available to answer them, particularly as we get this proposal, what's in it, what's being done, etc. And as Jerry said, there should be plenty of time to do that. Great. Okay. Thank you.
If anybody would like to participate and help, always looking for help. So,
Well, we certainly appreciate the effort you're putting in. I hope that comes through.
well, that's good to hear that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
And it's true about the contribution, as there's been a lot of feasibility like work done on streetscape, but at some point it's going to turn into more nuts and bolts and different sorts of skills. And maybe there are people who want to jump in at this point as a project moves through all these stages. You know this well. Different gifts and talents are used, and it might be, if there are people who are interested and want to jump in as this thing's taking off, to be part of it. So if
Yeah,
anyone is interested.
There's a couple people new in town that I can't remember who it is, but I know they kind of came through ARB, and I recall them talking about what they did, and they kind of done in terms of the construction side, they've dealt with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go back and find out who that was, but I want to make sure I tap their shoulder when we get to that point. So
Find out who they are, get them involved. We do a lot of work finding people and getting them involved with the planning commission, finding people and getting them involved with the architectural review board. At some point, a lot of those people end up running for town council, but I see the streetscape committee is like those. And when we look at people for the ARB or people for the planning commission, depending on their bents and backgrounds, they can be ideal fits for those. So Jerry, if you've seen people who might be a good fit for the streetscape, like the ARB, like the planning commission, the streetscape committee, that we can identify, that you can identify and tap and get them involved in this very important project that would change the face of the heart of the town. It'd be great to get those people involved. All right. Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
You too. All right, let's move along to the holiday tree lighting event. We got, Daryl, you want to talk about this proposal we got from the guy?
Yeah, I sent it out. It's like 3 pages and a lot of writing, but essentially it's $1,200 to put lights on the tree. I mentioned the lights that were left up there, and it seems like those lights have been there for several years. They were there when they first did the lights, and they tried to get as many down as they could, but because the tree is not, it won't support a ladder. You can't lean a ladder against it. You can't climb it because of the age and condition of the tree. You know, Mike has said, you know, we'll do our best to get as many of those lights out as we can, but they're limited with what they're able to do without, you know, getting a bucket truck or something like that, which anytime we've looked at doing it, it's just been very cost prohibitive. So, but he'll definitely, you know, clear out as much of the previous lights as is possible, you know, without harming the tree itself, and you know, put up the lights on our schedule and take them back down. $1,200. Pretty straightforward. Did everybody get a chance to see the proposal? Okay.
Yeah, is this the same as it was last year?
Basically, yeah. The same cost, yeah.
And they do this with long poles?
Yeah, they do it with poles and like freestanding ladders.
Okay, okay. And one would think with poles and clippers or whatever that they could try to get some of those lights.
Yeah.
The more they can get out, the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely on board with it. He understands, you know, why we want that done. I think he just wanted to make clear that, you know, they inventory their lights very, very, I guess, carefully, and they know how many strands they put up and how many strands they pack away. That's all. You know, this is his whole business is seasonal decoration. It's not like a side hustle for him. He does Halloween and Christmas decoration and other seasonal decorations throughout the year. So, he's certain that they're not his lights, but he's happy to help us get them out of the tree.
Right. I mean, I was kind of thinking of it as his tree, and he'd want his tree to be clean before he installs his lights. So the more he can, you know,
Yeah.
take ownership of it is something he loves and wants to look good.
Yeah, and I found out just through chatting with him that he does the Halloween decorations, and hopefully, you know, I'm gonna have a conversation with him about being involved in the haunted trail for next year. Potentially either taking up a spot or being a sponsor, decorating a portion of the trail or something of that nature as a sponsorship. Potentially look at doing some kind of a trade on the cost of the Christmas tree. So we'll see if we can, you know, either get an in-kind contribution for this as a sponsorship for our event or something of that nature to bring this cost down to zero in future years. But I'll keep you guys posted on how that conversation goes. But if everybody's comfortable with it, I'd like to make a motion to approve $1,200 for lighting the tree in town.
I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion or question? Okay.
Is there timing?
He's okay to have everything installed by the 3rd for the ceremony. So I already cleared that with him.
It'll be important, in my view, to have them up before the tree lighting event.
Indeed.
Okay. Reagan, did you have something you wanted to?
I was just curious about the installation date.
I can. We haven't set a firm date, but he knows what our tree lighting. He knows the celebration is on the 3rd, so it would be likely in the week leading up to that. I can. If you have a preference on a date, Reagan, if you'd like to be there and, you know, chat with him or something, or
I just say let me know when it is, and I'll stop down there if I can.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as I get it. As soon as I get it.
I think a pole pruner would be handy to have because you can reach with it, but you can also cut the wire with it if need be.
Yep.
For the old lights.
So he may not bring one of those, but.
Yeah, I actually came across an old wood one that was my uncle's in the shed when I was cleaning it out. It's like literally a long stick of wood with anyway.
And removal in mid-December or mid-January.
Correct. Yep. Once I have firm dates, I'll update the council.
Okay. Yeah, we want them up early and we want them to go down late.
Yeah.
So
there's
up as long as possible.
You know, there's a property owner on Chapel Street, as we were walking down to the trail, has their Christmas tree up, and it's like not even Halloween yet. So
amazing. Okay, any further discussion? We'll do a voice vote. Holloway, aye.
Donald, aye.
Poe, aye.
F. Ross, aye.
Line, aye.
And Screen, aye.
All right, homes tour. Oh, anything else on, you'll tell us about the timing, and that'll be before our next meeting. So just send something out to everybody.
Yeah, as soon as I have the dates confirmed, I'll email the group on that same thread. So just keep a lookout for it.
I did have
Okay.
a question tied to that event, the holiday tree lighting event. I haven't heard any discussion around if anybody was going to be leading that event, how that might be tied in cost-wise to what it is.
Well, two parts to that. One is when we think of the tree lighting, we're thinking about the lighting the tree for the tree lighting, but there's also the dancing elves and hot chocolate and Kevin Hutto's tractor and all that.
Yeah.
Is that happening? Is somebody doing that? Daryl, are you aware of that?
Donna has asked me, had reached out and asked about, like, hey, this is happening on the 3rd. Have you confirmed the lighting? And I let her know that we'd be discussing it at this meeting. It gave me the impression that Donna was working on it, but I don't know if that's true. I have not had a conversation with Kevin Hutto about it, but typically he does do a lot of the organizing. So I can reach out to Kevin and ask him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we shouldn't have an event going on that we don't know who's doing it or what they're doing. And the people doing the event should want to be sure that, well, it's our event. They're part of our team. We want to make sure there are those people. I suspect there are. They do it every year. And they would want to make sure there really is going to be a tree with lights on it. Because
I imagine that's why I heard from Donna with the inquiry. So my assumption was that Donna is involved in the planning of it. But
I would talk directly to Kevin instead of you talking to Donna, who says she thinks she talked to Kevin.
that's a good
Just
guidance.
talk to Kevin and ask Kevin. He goes, yeah, I'm doing it. Me and so and so, great. The tree lighting is we got that approved. That'll be happening on date X and such.
Yep.
And what else do you need from our end? My recollection was that the CBA, which I think is appropriate, always funded the s'mores, hot chocolate, and whatever. But that means it's tied in through Mike Davis and Michelle.
Yeah.
And the CBA. So
Mike Davis is raising his hand right now.
Oh,
yeah, bring him
perfect. Yeah, bring him in.
Put him on the spot.
Oh, he's got his stuff under control.
Mike is being promoted and he did not literally have his hand raised.
Oh, I just raised it real quick. As a treasurer, I don't have a line item for paying for the hot chocolate there, but we could definitely add that. No problem.
Good.
I just texted Michelle and she said the CBA can pay for the s'mores and such.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, you and Mike and Michelle are.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a quick thing. Is Michelle on as well?
I don't believe so.
She's on texting with me.
Okay.
This is Phyllis.
Well, and the point is, if Mike and Michelle are paying for the s'mores and hot chocolate, and we're paying for the tree and making sure the tree gets lit, and Kevin and others are coordinating the event, we should get all this stuff tied together. So Mike and Michelle have some idea of what the CBA is paying for, and the coordinators know the tree. So
yep.
Somebody has to just pull those. We have identified the threads and the thread bearer. Easy enough to do. Daryl, can you do that by email or whatever? Just make sure it's coordinated.
I will.
And they may say, we got it cold. We're glad to hear. We assume the CBA would be taking care of this. Really glad to hear about it. And the budget is X. Okay. And if the budget is 50,000, probably want to go, wait a sec. That's too many golden bars we're giving out. And they say it's $300,
Yeah.
Mike
That's
and this. Everybody's happy.
My recollection is that it's in the neighborhood of $300. But I also recall Kevin saying that it's generally just nobody asks for reimbursement for what they do.
They should know that they're coordinating it.
Yeah,
And we should give them all the rope they need to coordinate away with tractors and s'more kits and all that.
Yep.
But they know that up to X reasonable $100, they're assuming they want to submit reimbursements, they'll be reimbursed. And Mike and Michelle are going to take care of that. And we got the tree and it'll be ready on X and such date. And they say thank you and they go off and do their thing. You know,
sounds
which is
good.
what we do with all our events. You have an event chair, which would be or chairs, whoever these people are, and identify them and, just let the council know who that is. Like, hey, I spoke to X and Y. They're the event chairs for this, and they've got it completely under control. They've done it 6 times. They're ready to go, and I let them know. Okay.
Sounds good. Will do.
Great, thanks. It's all happening. It's all happened in the past, but this coordination we're doing with Mike and Michelle right now, great. And the coordination you'll do with the chairs for that, great. And getting this tree thing, you got this identified early. Remember in the past, we would be asked like a day before or something. We're getting this addressed early, identified, taken care of. So it's all coming together, and we'll just add the final little gloss and structure on this, and then going forward it'll be very clear exactly what the process is. Okay.
I promoted Chuck to panelist. He had a question. Chuck?
Yes, thanks, Phyllis. The question I have is, we're in the middle of putting promotional materials together. And what I'd like to do is include all of these events in our promotion. Because it looks good for demographics. In other words, the artists have a feel for who's coming, what they're doing, what kind of people are coming, what kind of events are happening. So trying to include all of that in our promotion is important. And what I like to do is include some times. I know the Homes tour, I know our event. And what I'd like to find out is, what time do you think the tree lighting would take place? Let me just pose that question first and I'll get to the second.
I think it usually happens around 7 or 8. Is that right?
Well, I think what I would suggest is, Daryl, since you're going to, you as the town council person for the holiday tree lighting committee, are going to reach out to the holiday tree lighting committee chairs, and they're going to confirm to you what the time is, and then you can let Chuck know what that time is.
I'll keep you informed, Chuck.
Okay. Before the next town council meeting.
Yeah, yes, it's going to happen before the next council meeting. So yeah.
Good idea, yeah.
And the second question I have is anybody talking to the Horse Society? I've had a quick text with them and they said they're working on it and trying to pull it together, but is anybody on the council reaching out to the Horse Society?
I think the answer is no.
I don't have a contact there anymore. It's been several years since they held their meetings at the town hall. So
okay, I can send you who I've been talking to.
Okay.
That would be good. I mean, look, it would make sense, as Chuck is getting at, to coordinate these things. That's what we're trying to do. There could certainly be a horse, what is it called? The Christmas
called the horse parade.
Horse parade committee chair. There could be such a person who would coordinate with the council. That would make a lot of sense. There'd be a horse parade committee chair. There probably is. We just don't know who it is. Somebody's in charge. And they would coordinate with the council. So we know when it is. We know who the contact people are. And it's coordinated with the other holiday events, so they're not tripping over each other. That would make a tremendous amount of sense. I don't know if anybody wants to be that council or extended council person who would coordinate with the horse parade. I'm certainly willing to take their an email or whatever to get that coordination going for the horse parade committee.
Okay,
we have-
I can send it to you.
Okay, and what would be ideal, Chuck, is if you talk to whoever the person is who's leading it,
Yes.
that you'd circle me in with them and they would send something saying, I'm so-and-so, and we're planning on doing this horse parade on December whatever, between A and B. And you know, we can also do something like you're talking about publicity, and the town we've talked about, Amanda has done publicity to send things out as well from a town perspective, that we get this out there so everybody knows what's going on. As many people know, so they can enjoy these tremendous activities and not be shocked when their horses wandering around in the middle of the road or whatever they do. So it makes sense to coordinate.
Bill, it's actually a very organized event in the past, as you may remember, because they've got to coordinate with the police, of all things. And then they get to use your parking lot over there on the other side of the bridge. That's where they assemble.
The
and
floodplain.
Retire in a floodplain, yes.
All the more reason for it to be coordinated with all this other stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, I have no doubt that they know what they're doing, but we don't know what they're doing. And we'd want to get all that coordinated. So, by the way, per what I said earlier, we would have absolutely zero interest or desire to insert ourselves into the planning of the event, but rather to coordinate and say, you know, what, if anything, do you need from us? And let's make sure that all these things are synced up
Yeah, we've got
together.
the Homes Tour, the horse parade, the tree lighting, the craft festival, the art show. There's, you know, quite a few things happening.
Correct. Yeah, and it would be good for all of them to be coordinated and synced up together. So
Hashtag Merry Clifton.
Yeah. We just need to get that coordination going. Okay.
You may have coined the term there, Merry Clifton.
There you go.
I like it.
Let's take over social media.
Are we going to have anything on our town website regarding this with all the events and times and places?
I don't know how much traffic the town website's going to get, but we certainly can put the information up there.
Or to send it out to people once we know what all this is. I'd like to do that, you know, once we have a list of what it is, and we could make it, you know, look nice and sensible. Yeah.
One of the reasons that I would ask that question is because when I put the promotion materials out there, I include all of those events and then give a website where they can go and get in detailed information. And that would be the town website.
Yeah, my guess is that is a to be developed thing. I think it's a great notional, exactly what we're talking about. Once we know what all these things are and who's doing them and when they are and where they are, we can begin to let people know about that. And we can start that process this year. My guess is this year won't be perfect, but it'll start, and next year we'll really have our arms around it. So great idea. I like it. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on that? We'll move to the next of the many Merry Clifton events, the Holiday Homes Tour status report.
Perfect. As I mentioned, Dara, Karen is the chair for the Holiday Homes Tour, and she asked me to give this update. It's still been a challenge to get commitments with making sure that there are enough houses on the tour. I think in the past the go number has been 5 homes, and we had 4 confirmed homes, but one of the homes dropped out in the last week. So we have 3 confirmed houses, and then 1 backup house that could be added to the tour if needed. Celebrating multiple different holidays in terms of the decorations. And in addition to the houses, they have confirmed the caboose. I think that was your suggestion last time, Daryl. Thanks for that. And the Presbyterian Church were also going to be open for tours. And also Chuck, thanks for the addition of the Primitive Baptist Church as well. And Dara asked me to bring this to you because understanding that printing brochures, there's an expense with that. I think there was a concern that there would be enough interest actually going on the tour, given that maybe it's 3 houses, maybe it's 4 houses, and a couple of churches that are going to be available. And so I just wanted to bring it to everyone that this event was a positive community building event. And if for some reason the cost of the brochures slightly outweighed the money that was brought in on the tour, I just wanted to get some input from everyone to bring back to Dara to help her in the decision making with a low number of houses.
2 quick things. One, have they asked the First Baptist Church?
I'm not sure. I imagine she's gone to everybody. Yeah.
Could they ask the First Baptist Church? I know I've seen the First Baptist Church sending things out to the community members, asking to help people at their homes, trying to be very active in the community. I'd like to bring them into the community if we can.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the brochure, I think it's, again, like we've talked many times, a question of what are we talking about? If the brochure is $14,000, I'd be like, well, what? So if we're saying, I don't know how many brochures do you get? 200, 400, 500? You can't get more than 500 brochures. There's probably not that many people going through. How many of these brochures, what do they cost? And so what are we talking about here numbers wise?
Yeah, and I think I don't have specifics on that. It's all an equation. There's the price of the homes tour. I think she mentioned 20, maybe it's been $25 in the past and $20. There's an uncertainty. Certainly they can make that determination. There's an uncertainty of how many people are going to come. But you have to estimate well in advance of the sales. So there are a lot of different moving pieces. I think that the big concern here is the town is the town going to fall apart if for some reason the numbers don't balance out with a profit from this particular event. Is breaking even, does it make it worth it? And I've heard from previous discussions that as a community building event that's a positive thing if it breaks even. If it goes in the red a little bit, is that a place where that we want to be as a town? I think she's just feeling a lot of weight to make this decision without a lot of certainty.
My view is the event doesn't have to make money, but if we're printing brochures that cost $20 each to make, I'd be very unhappy.
Yeah.
Nick had done some research for me a couple of months ago, and it looked like the last tour they spent about $1,000 on posters and tickets.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like I would measure the success of the event on, the impact that it has for the people who come in the community more than on the revenue it produces. And I would also take in, in that same thought is, what's our total exposure? If we literally spent as much as we could spend to promote an event like this, which I can't imagine it'd be more than $1,000. and we didn't sell a single ticket, we've lost $1,000. I think the town would survive. So I don't want Dara to think she's going to get tarred and feathered if, you know, she doesn't have enough people show up to the event. We're grateful for the work that she's putting in to chair this event and take it on as a new volunteer, and I want her to feel supported.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Daryl. Appreciate that. And I know she will. I know she'll appreciate that as well. To be honest, with all this discussion of all the events that night, it sounds like there's not going to be a challenge at all getting people to go on the tour with the traffic flow that's coming through town. It's sort of almost, after all the discussions in the other side of things, the way where you landed on the haunted trail, that you know, how many events can we actually have going at the same time, and be able to accommodate everyone who has an interest in you know, one or multiple of these events.
Yeah, I think people in general are, as the world reopens, more of, you know, as that continues to gain momentum, people are looking for reasons to get out and do stuff, and we should give them something fun to do.
Good.
Can I ask you another question, Bill?
Yeah, go ahead.
Once more, I'm thinking of promotions, and it's a selfish reason. More people that come, the more activity and possible audience you have for an art show. So that's where I'm coming from. And in the past, and in fact, I think Dara is thinking about doing this right now, is selling tickets at the local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't draw in the total community. You've got Centerville and Fairfax and Vienna, and you can imagine how far that can spread if you did this online. And Amanda's got all the tools to do a great online sale and has offered to help Dara, but the decision's not there at this point. And maybe you could suggest that you use Amanda's skills to advance online ticket sales for the Homes Tour.
Yeah, I can see in a future year where we have, essentially it's a holiday festival and it includes the Homes Tour and the art show and all of the stuff for one ticket. And it's a way for us to gauge what our audience is going to be, and everybody gets to come and participate and celebrate. So I'm actually a little surprised to hear that we don't sell tickets online, or that we haven't sold tickets online in the past. The Haunted Trail has done online ticket sales for a few years, quite a few years. So I definitely think that if Dara is open to it, we should try to facilitate that. We'll definitely get more takers, I think. Chuck's right.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that there are a lot of people who moved to town over the last couple of years when we haven't had the Homes Tour, and some who are willing to commit in the future, but just want to be able to experience it and understand what it is. So having a positive event this year can really build momentum for more people committing in the future. So another added benefit for, you know, depending, you know, wherever the ticket sales land. You know, that's a win for hosting it despite the low numbers this year.
Yeah, we experienced some of that even with the Haunted Trail. Lots of people that, you know, wanted to come and experience the trail because they're new to the area before they committed to volunteering on it. So
it's great.
Okay, that's a good report. Anything else needed from us on this at this point?
I don't think so at this point. You know, I think if the town's willing to cover the cost up to $1,000, if for some reason the tickets don't sell and the posters and the brochures get made, you know, I think that's going to take a huge burden off of Dara, and sounds like we're not going to have any trouble getting those tickets sold given all the exposure that this event has.
Yeah, I would expect if we get brochures made that there will be a tour. How many people go? That's just like the trail. I mean, we have the trail, and as many people go as go. I'm not worried about that. I think there'll be plenty of people going, but you know, that in fact we will have the event. That would be the key thing, because that's what we want, is to get the event going, people see it, and they're excited about next year.
Yep.
Okay. No issues with the $1,000. All right.
It's already in the budget, right?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
actually not sure, because we had taken it out. We had
I think
taken
we
it out.
zeroed
in
it
the
out.
past.
Do we need a motion to approve up to $1,000 for promoting the holiday home store?
It's not promotion, it's
Or printing?
it's for printing brochures, tickets, posters, etc.
Yeah,
Expenses for the expenses for the holiday tour.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, make a motion, just make a
okay.
motion.
All right. I make a motion. We approve up to $1,000 for expenses related to putting on the holiday homes tour.
Second.
Okay. We'll do a voice thingy. Holloway, aye.
Donald,
That Frost, aye.
Poe, aye.
Line aye.
Screen eye.
All right. I think we're downhill from here.
Better be. I can't stay much longer.
Okay, downhill from here. Sully Commander and the community event, they told us November 17th, they're gonna come out and talk to everybody. That's a few weeks from now, 6:30 to 8:30 PM, talking about developments there. They have some new leadership. It's always good to see these people firsthand, make the connections, get the cards and all that. And Amanda, is it your understanding this is still going on? And Daryl? I haven't heard anything since. They said they wanted to do this. They said they wanted it on November 17th. I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything further.
Excuse me. We confirmed the date and the time with them, and they were supposed to send us materials to publicize the event weeks ago, and I've just didn't feel like following up with them. I figure if they really want to hold the event, they'll send the materials to us without any further asking, since they're the ones that offered and requested to have the event.
That's consistent with my understanding. So we understand that there is going to be an event.
And the hall is reserved for that date and time.
Okay, perfect. If more information comes through, we'll send more information out to all of you. Clifton Day report on 2022 Clifton Day event. I put this on because we had Clifton Day and it seemed like one of the best Clifton Days I can ever remember having ever. And I thought that was very noteworthy, and we did not want that to be forgotten. I don't know if anybody needs to say anything. Is Michelle on? She's texting with you. Okay. She
Mike's
thinks it
here.
was great too.
Mike Davis is here.
Mike is here. We didn't have to say anything, but it seemed like it was a very successful event. Yes?
Yes. I can turn my video on too if you guys. Nope,
Yeah,
can't
go ahead.
do that. So this is the first year we've ever made money on the VRE train.
Wow.
So that is a huge indicator of the things. I actually have not finished all the finances yet on the goes in that goes out us type stuff. But indications are the biggest, the biggest moneymaker to date. So for the Clifton Day. So that's, indications that we didn't have many problems either, which is nice from my perspective. But that's about it.
Okay. That was my recollection as well. It was just very good. The weather was great. The crowds were really good. People were having a great time.
What about the political flyers and stuff? Did we see a ton of that? I didn't go out into the throngs, but
I didn't hear any issues with the food vendors. Seemed very happy. I didn't hear any controversy about politicians getting in people's faces or anything like that. So
Yeah, I heard
Uh,
record crowds, and anyone I've spoken to about it said it was a great time. So
Yeah, and this goes with, which we're just talking about this holiday homes tour and haunted trail. It looks like people want to get out there and they're behaving themselves, so all good. Final thing on the agenda, Clifton Lions Club DEA Drug Take Back Day. In fact, that follows this theme as we were talking about earlier with the homes tour. They held the event. Recall, now the Lions Club, they're really trying to rebuild their relationship with the town of Clifton, do more things with the town of Clifton, looking for opportunities to do stuff with Clifton. And this was one of the things they came up with. They held it on the same day as the haunted trail. They couldn't put their banner up because we already had a banner, and they were very nice about that. I said, regrets kind of thing. They were very nice about that. They had this event. We were all scratching our heads going, who comes and drops off pills with some lions with DEA agents? They had this event. They collected, now you know how big a pill is, right? They collected 54 pounds of prescription medications. 54 pounds.
that seems like a lot.
It seems like a lot. Point is, it was wildly successful. They were very happy. I've heard only positive things about it. So
Excellent.
another very good, very respectful, very successful event as we move forward. So, and I appreciated Amanda's comments earlier about the environmental footprint of the haunted trail was down. We had a much smaller dumpster, and that dumpster was half full, and there wasn't a lot of trash. That we're looking at things that are well received, the people are respectful, and they're good for the community and building the community with our eye towards things like that. So very positive reports.
About 25% of the lighting on the Bunny Man skit was solar powered.
Really?
We're trying to go green too.
That is great. And as we look at this holiday festival we're talking about, you know, putting together, again, hoping to have another solid event with an eye on community building. So with that, that's all there is on the agenda.
Hey, before we hang up, Bill, I was trying to figure out a way to keep the momentum with the streetscape before we lose a month. Would it be possible to jump back to that? I don't know if Jerry is still on or not. He may have jumped.
Yeah, he's lit.
My take on it is if we got a proposal and somehow homes were burning down, if we didn't act, we can always schedule a special meeting if we need to do so. I just think in the absence of any information whatsoever about scope or cost, it will be difficult to approve.
We're throwing darts at a dartboard, you know. Unless you have Reagan, unless you have an idea around what you think the cost might be,
No, what Bill just mentioned is what I was thinking. Is get something in from these guys. But if we could huddle around that and maybe use that special meeting to bring in more details.
It would be a special meeting focused on that. So let's see how that plays out. I didn't want to say we'll have one because I don't know what we have or, you know, when we'll have it, but it is certainly an option to keep things moving.
I am open to that as well, just for the record. I can attend.
Advertisement requirement with that?
Just a quorum. Meeting is a three-day advertising. Emergency meeting is no advertising, but there's nothing about this that would speak to an emergency. So, but we can do it on 3 days notice. The reason it's special is it's not a stated meeting. The stated meeting is the first Tuesday of each month. Any other meeting held by the council is a special meeting. And we just advertised it as such. So yes, it would be A, advertised, and B, open to the public with an agenda that would be distributed just like we do now. The difference would be with a stated meeting, there's literally an order of business. I don't make this up, like the clerk, treasurer, or whatever, we're required to go through all those things. With a special meeting, it's whatever the agenda is, so it'll be focused.
Yeah.
Okay? So we
What
can do it.
constitutes advertising? We have to buy an ad in a paper or something, or
No,
like
no. It's not advertising, just
noticed? Put a notice out. Yeah, so we email our
the
email list.
same.
And
It's
yeah,
the
got it.
same as what we do now. Think
Okay.
of the work sessions we have for the budget.
Yeah,
Same
got it.
idea. Those
Okay.
are public meetings. Anybody can come and watch if they want. And it has to be duly noticed, just like these are noticed 3 days in advance.
Okay.
And look, the desire is to give more notice, not less. Especially for a special meeting, because these meetings, everybody knows the first Tuesday we're going to have this meeting. So it's not a surprise. Special
Right.
meeting nobody would know about. So we'd want people to, know as much as we can, but we're required to provide 3 days notice. Okay.
All right. Everybody get out and vote.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries, and good evening all.
Good night.